Hey folks, welcome to Finding Fuscata. This is Sean. Normally, I know that when people come to a podcast or a YouTube channel or something like that, they're looking for information. They're looking to get something from it. And normally on this channel, and normally what I do at Finding Fuscata is bring information to you. And hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's helpful. But today I'm going to flip the script because I want information from you guys with something that I'm stumped on. I just cannot figure this part out. And it's this. I have done a lot of work in the last few years, a lot of internal work, because I came to a point in my life where I realized that I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again and getting the same results over and over and over again. So for example, for a long time, I would find myself accumulating some debt because there'd be an incident or an accident or something. Like one time I blew the engine in my van and it crapped out and I didn't have enough in savings. So I had to take out an auto loan to buy a new car. And just things like that. You know what I mean? Stuff happens in life. And what I did in the past, whenever those debts would come up, is I would get a second job. Or when I was in the military, I would take an extra deployment. Or I would go TDY somewhere, take a temporary tour, and they would pay me extra per diem, and I would take that money and throw it onto the debt and clear the debt away. And then part of that cycle too was that I would take some extra money and I'd build my savings up and I'd get to about $2,500, and then something else would happen. And this happened with such regularity that I got to the point where I was paranoid about saving $2,500. I experimented one time with it and I paid off all my debt and I started saving and I got $2,500 and I was nervous about it because had become superstitious. And just for kicks, I said, you know what? I'll throw in another $100. Let's make it $2,600. And that month, my ex-wife took me back to court and my child support amount went up and I had to end up buying another car, and just everything that I had done completely fell apart. And I said, okay, so this is the cycle of my life. So I stopped and I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. Because it doesn't work. So why keep doing something that doesn't work? And around that time, I had been doing a lot of internal work and I had come to start to understand the mirror principle and how the world outside of you reflects back what you are on the inside. So I said, well, if this is the thing that keeps happening to me, then maybe there's something on the inside that I'm not seeing that needs to be fixed. So I started doing the work. And I worked and I hired coaches and I went to therapy and I read books and I just dug and I dug for years. Until eventually I was able to find my core limiting belief. Not all the peripheral limiting beliefs, but my core limiting belief. And it's related to my earliest childhood memory. And in my earliest childhood memory, I remember I was still an infant. And I know that's unusual. A lot of people don't remember being that young, but my brain does for whatever reason. But I remember being an infant and it was a spring day and the sun was out and the grass was green. And I was crawling around in the grass and my mother and my aunt were there and my older sister and my older cousins were there. And I remember picking up grass and putting grass in my mouth and it felt woody and gross and it didn't taste good, but it was interesting. And I remember my aunt taking the grass out of my mouth and saying, no, Sean. And I remember just being like slobbery and gross, but fascinating just the same. But I got angry and I started crying. And I tried to crawl over into my mother's lap because I wanted to be comforted. But my sister was sitting in her lap and she said, no, Sean, not right now. So then I went to go crawl on my aunt's lap, and my older cousin was there. No, I think it was actually my younger cousin was in her lap, a little bit younger than me. And I couldn't get there. So I ended up just kind of like saying, well, I guess that's it. I can't get into anybody's lap. So I just sat in the grass and kind of sulked for a minute. And what ended up happening, I think, is the core limiting belief that I had that was formed around that experience was that the thing that I want is denied to me, and it's available to other people, but I specifically cannot have it. And whatever it is, it will always be out of reach. And then later, because of other childhood experiences, I added on to that limiting belief that I would also always be entrapped or enslaved in some way. And so it makes sense looking back over my life with my, finances and career and relationships and everything like that, that this story, this theme, this archetype, if you will, has played out over and over and over and over and over again. When I was in the military, I knew that I wasn't free. I didn't feel free. I couldn't decide what I could wear. I couldn't decide what hair I could have. I didn't decide where I could live. I didn't decide who my friends would be. I couldn't decide what my job would be. I just had to do whatever the Air Force told me to do. And then in my finances, I don't have the freedom to just go and do the thing that I want to do because I have bills to pay and I've got debts and I have responsibilities. And I know there are different ways of looking at that, but that's been the fundamental story of my whole life. Well, now that I've found that limiting belief, I've replaced it with another one. And the new belief, the empowering belief, is that if there is anything in the world that anybody can have, then everybody can have it. If there is a blessing that anybody can have, then that blessing is available to everybody. If anybody in the world is worthy of anything, then I'm worthy of that too, because everybody's worthy of that. And whatever it is that I want, whatever it is that I desire, if I agree in my mind that it's already done, and I agree in my heart that it is done with gratitude, then all I have to do is wait for a moment and it'll show up. And that sounds great. That's the things that it talks about in the Bible and the Gospel of Thomas and Neville Goddard and Abraham Hicks, and pick somebody, Wayne Dyer, pick a name of all these people, and they'll say, yep, that's exactly, you do that and it'll work. But then it doesn't. It hasn't yet. Instead, what happens in my life is something more like this. Let me tell you a story. A couple years ago, I had just refinanced my home. And as it happened, I was going from one mortgage broker to another, and it was going to take them a little bit of time to get everything figured out. And there was 1 month where I wouldn't have to pay my mortgage. And I asked them, should I set the money aside? Am I going to have to pay it later? And they said, nope, you don't have to pay it that month. So put it in savings, pay off some debt, take a vacation, whatever it is that you want to do. There's $1,700 and that's yours. And I said, awesome, that's great. And I had a laundry list of things that I could, take care of with that $1,700. I said, cool. Well, a couple days later, before I had spent a dime of that money, my cat, who is about 10 years old at the time, got a bladder infection and his urethra was blocked and he couldn't pee. So we had to take him to the emergency veterinarian hospital to get him unblocked and healed up and working again. And guess how much that cost? $1,685 and some change. And that was another part of that limiting belief too, is that whatever it was in life that I needed, the universe would provide it for me, but provide only that much. But then I would still be bound to the other things. The thing that I really wanted would be out of reach. The thing that I really wanted to accomplish would be there for other people. And no matter what I did, I would still be enslaved. I would still be stuck. I'd still be locked up and not able to get away. And this is the same thing that happened with, my cat, with that medical bill. And before this had happened, I used to get so angry and think, God hates me, the devil hates me. I used to say, especially when I was in my darker times and really depressed, I'd say, you know what? I'm not going to take my own life because I'm going to live all the way to the end. And when I get to the other side, if there's a God, if there's a devil, I'm going to kick those fuckers in the dick because of how they fucked with me my entire life. And that was my attitude. And in all honesty, it's still in there a little bit. I haven't cleared away all that anger. But I've learned, because of that experience and others, to just see that with gratitude and say, okay, the universe does provide what I need. The universe does see what's happening, even for my pets. And it provides that need so that it can be covered. And I accept that, and I'm grateful for it. Well, just recently, I found out about my annual bonus. And it was way less than last year's bonus. Even though I performed better, even though it's all based on, your pay scale and your performance rating and all this other kind of stuff that they put into it. And it came out being less. And because of my tax bracket, it ended up being cut almost in half. They took about a third of it. And it was just, that money just went to Uncle Sam. And you'll never guess. You'll probably guess by now. But the amount of money that I actually got was exactly the amount of money that I needed to cover an upcoming expense that I wasn't sure how I was going to cover. And now it's covered, and great. But I'm still not free. I'm still not thriving. I'm still not flourishing. I'm still just paycheck to paycheck. It's my entire life has been paycheck to paycheck. And every time, they say that when you get a pay increase, you should take that extra money and set it aside and invest it and blah, blah, blah. And that's all well and good. But the way that my life has gone is every time that there's a pay increase, there's an extra mouth to feed, or something breaks, or there's an extra commitment that has to happen. Or it's never just me saying, oh, I'm going to, buy this extra stuff. I'm going to expand my life. I'm going to, whatever the thing is. It's just my pay has always increased to be commensurate with whatever the current inflation rate is and whatever, my current family and responsibilities are. But it's always been just enough to keep everything going, but never get me out of debt, never get me to where I need to go. It never get me free. And that's the kind of thing that I can't figure out. So let me give you a specific example, right? I have a friend who is like me. From time to time, he gets windfalls. He works hard. He doesn't work any harder than I do. He's not any smarter than I do. He doesn't have a better job than I do. But he has better luck than I do. And a couple years ago, he got a windfall about the same as my $1,700. But with his windfall, there was nothing else to do with it. So he took his family on a nice vacation to a beach. I think they went to Fiji or something like that. Or maybe the Bahamas. I don't know. But he took his family, his wife and kids on a beach vacation. And then about a week ago, I was talking with Regina Roberti. Had a fantastic conversation with her. And if you are not familiar with her, go check out the video and the podcast. She's doing some amazing work with hypnosis and advanced conversational hypnosis. She does tremendous work. Anyway, we were talking and she just mentioned in passing that she had gotten to a point in her career where things were kind of stagnating and she wasn't sure if she wanted to go down that path anymore. And then she heard about Marissa Peer and she heard about Marissa Peer's coaching, hypnosis training program. So she went and did it. And she found out about a self-sabotage coach, and she went and did it. And then she found out about the advanced conversational hypnosis training, and she went and did it. And I didn't even think about it at all because, she's telling the story, but it occurred to me later that each one of those programs costs thousands of dollars. And I keep wondering, how does she do it? And I'm not asking, I don't want to know her personal finances or her business finances, or that stuff is none of my business. Because I understand that money is energy, and it comes and goes and flows, and you can get loans, and you can get, business loans and loans against your home or credit cards, or you can have savings, or maybe there's a windfall, whatever. I don't know. It's none of my business. But to be able to just say, oh, I'm going to go take this Quasi Joe Here's reality mastery program, and that's $7,400. Here you go. Let's go do this. Or to say, oh, Sonny Lenarduzzi has this coaching program. It's how to build the coaching program, and tells you how to sell it and tells you how to do this kind of stuff. And it's $8,400. Cool. Here's $8,400. Let's go do it. Or, I want to go through the Marissa Peer hypnosis training, and that's about $10,000. And just say oh, here's $10,000. Let's go do this. Because each one of those programs, I've been interested in them. I've wanted to apply to them. I've had the phone call, the consultation call to see, if you're going to be a good fit for the program, or blah, blah, blah. And then they get to the hard sales pitch and tell me the dollar amount. And I'm like, that's nice, but I just cannot do that. I'm fully leveraged as it is. I can't access $8,400 to be able to invest in Sonny Lenarduzzi's program. I can't access $7,400 to invest in Quasi's program or any of these coaching programs. Fully leveraged, tapped. And I know that this may sound bitter, and I am angry, and I am frustrated, but I know that I've cleared away this limiting belief. I know that I've done the work. I know that things should be shifting and changing, but I don't see them shifting and changing. And what I want to know, this is maybe the thing that you can help me with, is that I don't know what it looks like. I don't know anybody. There's nobody in my life who can just have access to $10,000 to go take a training program, to go and do something to improve their life, to improve their economic status, to improve, the lives of their families and loved ones. I have no idea what it feels like to be able to just say, hey, you know what? My son in Washington needs me to go and see him. So I'm going to, take a week off of work, and I'm going to just fly to Tacoma and stay in a hotel and hang out with my son and spend time with my grandkids. That's a foreign concept to me. I don't know what that looks like. I can't even take time off from work and go out to Pittsburgh and spend time with my other son who really needs some time with his dad. Or just to drive up to New Hampshire or to Maine to go spend some time with my folks, whom I haven't seen for years. I don't know what it looks like to be able to do that. I don't know what it feels like to be able to do that. I have a fantasy, I have an idea, but it's not there. So even though I've cleared away these limiting beliefs, the idea of being able to just do one of these things that can help my relationships heal, that can help my finances heal, that can help these things get done. To me, it's it's kind of a cliche, but it's like wondering what it's like to be a bat, or wondering what it feels like to be a whale. I don't know how to start wondering about what to start wondering about. It's that foreign to me. But that's the life that I want to get to. That's the life that I feel like has been promised to me. That's my promised land. That's my Canaan. I feel like I'm Moses standing on the hill, and I brought the Israelites all the way to the Canaan land, and We got there, but I'm specifically denied crossing the Jordan River. You know? And there was even an analogy in my own life where I got all the way to the baptism site of Jesus, but the baptism site of Jesus is not on the Israeli side of the Jordan River. I was at the Jordan River and I couldn't get across to the Israeli side. I didn't want to, but that's the point. And maybe there's an analogy in that story. Maybe there's something in there that I'm not unpacking yet. But my story about getting to the baptism site, maybe that's there. But that's what it feels like. I did the work. I made the journey. I traveled the distance. I did all the things. And I'm here. I can see the promised land. It's there in front of me. But I'm not allowed to go. And I don't know why. And it feels like my children aren't allowed to go. My descendants aren't allowed to go. Like nobody I know and love is allowed to go. We're all just there and we can look at it. And I feel like the decision is up to me to be able to make that change, to find that thing, to finally tweak that last little bit of my inner beliefs, my last little bit of my inside and my fundamentals and how I think and how I feel and how I move in the world. Like I gotta find that last thing and I just can't. And that's the question that I pose to you guys. That's the question that I have. Is there somebody out there, when you listen to my story, did I say something that I missed? Do you hear something in my voice? What's the thing? Is there a clue? Is there something? Is there somebody I'm not following? Because like I joined Mind Valley and I went through Quasi's program and I've listened to Ken Honda and I've done Marissa Peer meditations and I've done Joe Dispenza meditations and I've like on and on. Like there's nothing that you can mention to me in this whole new age movement, new thought, practicing manifestation, law of attraction. There's nothing out there that you can suggest to me that I haven't already mastered. And yet, my life hasn't changed. I have a different paradigm, but my life, the way I live it, hasn't fundamentally changed. So, give me an answer, give me a response, think about it. Let me know what you think. I'm really curious. I'm really, really stumped on this, and I don't like being stumped. So I'm putting this question out to the public, and hopefully somebody out there can say, hey, do this thing, or think of that thing, or this is what I did, or this is how I got free from that trap. I don't know. In the meantime, be good to each other, be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, be loving, treat others as you would like to be treated. And I guess I'll talk to you on the other side. Thanks. Bye.